Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at Wheel Talk Podcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
Sweet. Anyway.
We just do like a rolling start here, so it's not.
Should we talk more about soup and bread?
Yeah, we were talking about soup.
You interrupted, Becca.
I'm sorry. It's important.
Hey, you got to get the sound right.
Yeah.
I had a question, Becca.
Okay.
Do you all make like chili and stuff in Colorado? Like, is that a thing? Or is that not? Is that like a Midwest thing?
Do you guys make chili up there?
We make chili a lot, yeah.
We make chili in Minnesota, and when I lived in Colorado, we made chili, and when I lived in Texas, we made chili. I
The
think
difference is it's all different types of chili.
yeah.
That's the difference. Like, your chili is mush. You know?
My
it's
chili?
Like, yes, your chili. It's like
What is my chili? I
Like-
literally never make
like
chili.
Gold
but-
Star chili is like
Ew.
I mean,
That's gross.
it's just like, yeah.
it's just like dog
I mean-
food in chili. And
That's not
I mean,
what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like if my parents
Homemade.
make chili. Like,
homemade chili, yes. Everybody makes homemade chili, right?
like chunky chili. I
Chunky
didn't-
chili.
I don't know.
But my mom's like chili is not good because she doesn't like beans, and I love beans. in
Yeah.
my chili.
So what is it? Just like a tomato-y, and it's got
Beefy.
beef and
Yeah.
tomato paste, and yeah, I guess
Yeah.
if there's no beans, like what chunks it up, you know?
Yeah, tomatoes.
Peppers. Yeah. Well, in Texas, there's a battle over whether beans should be in chili or not.
In Colorado as well.
Yeah.
And we used to have a chili cook-off at church, and it was called what was it? The Night of Joy. It was a not talented talent show and a chili cook-off, and it's so funny because like everybody from church would bring their chili, and then people would bring like fucking muffin tins to try all the chili with.
Ooh, that's
Oh,
a great
yeah.
idea.
Yeah. And like, you know, and I like a good white bean chili, you know, like
Like with pork? Chunks of pork or chicken?
probably pork. I like pork better than chicken, but
I love pork.
yeah.
I could give up almost every meat, but not pork.
Pork is so solid.
It- Bacon, pork shoulder. I mean, yeah.
The only thing I don't like is pork chops, but that's because I've never cooked them right.
Mm.
Pork chops are good.
Yeah, smothered with onions and pressure cooker. They're really good in a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
See, my
They stay
mom
moist.
my mom was not the best cook, and so everything turned out very dry.
Yeah.
It's not that
That's
she's
not-
not a good cook. She is. She just didn't like it. She was like, eh.
And it showed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hmm.
All
I
right.
could talk food all day.
Should we
I
roll
know, that's
into
what
it,
our
Becca?
podcast is actually about today.
Food? All right.
I feel like I'm gonna put my hat on. This is annoying. It's about haircut time here.
He acts like people actually watch our things.
You gotta look good to feel good, right? I mean, whatever.
It's hat season over here. Every day.
Every day.
Oh my God, I have something exciting to tell you about both of you, actually, when we start. We should just start. Let's start.
Let's just start. I'll let you roll it in.
Hold on. Wait, before we start, I'm going to turn off the heater.
Okay.
Can't hear it, but is it warm in
turn-
there, Amy?
In the studio?
Yeah.
No, I turned off the heat. It's like
What?
40. It's 40 out.
I think it's
In
about
Minnesota.
that here.
So what is it in the studio though? It's probably like in the 50s, right?
Well, I had the heat on all night. It's
Oh.
70.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, but since the heater's up now,
Yeah.
there's a chill in the air, but I got my hoodie.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll be good.
it's 48 outside right now. But the heater kicks on and it's really loud.
Yeah.
And so that's why I turn it off.
Nice. Thinking ahead. I like it.
Yeah, trying. Now I just got to remember to turn it back on. Cool. Should we start? We should start.
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get it.
All right. All right.
All right.
I'm here for it. All right. All right. All right.
Hello, Amy.
Hi, Becca and Ryan.
Hi. Good morning. Happy Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, you probably got
yeah.
some stuff going on this afternoon, I'm guessing.
Yep. The boys are going to dress up and head on out into the dark.
Oh my
Into
God,
the
are you going to take
darkness.
pictures and put them on Instagram?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah. People love Oliver. I think I should start a fan club for him.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's a sweetie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so for those who don't know who we're chatting with,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have Amy Brummond. Is that the right way to say your last name?
Just Brummond.
Brummond?
Boring.
Okay.
Brummond.
Amy Brummond.
Although I do like Brummond. I do like that.
Brummond.
Brummond.
It's like a hand gesture. I think it's nice.
From Pine Zen Pottery on Instagram if you want to look up any of her stuff as we're chatting, or if you don't know her stuff already. Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of where you are with clay, and for anybody that doesn't know about you?
Yes, indeed. I found clay. I took a community ed class when I was living in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And
Sweet. I didn't know you lived in Ohio. That's cool.
I did. Yeah, I have grandparents that live in Dayton.
Yeah, that's like an hour from me in Cincinnati. Like, that's not far at all.
Yeah, real close. But Yellow Springs is a really artsy kind of community, and they had a intro to pottery, and that was in 1999, very long time ago. Anyway, I was a little pipsqueak. Anyway, I took the class, and it was I fell in love with the kick wheel.
Ah, yeah.
Nice.
I just loved that unplugged kind of rhythmic nature of it. I made a few bowls. Here's one.
Oh, look at that.
That was one of your first bowls?
Yeah, it's a doorstop.
That's so good.
It's a doorstop.
Yeah. Anyway, 1999.
Love it.
I love that you brought show and tell.
I keep it in the studio. So
I
She
keep
said it's her
my
doorstop.
first piece in my studio too.
well, I mean, it's heavy like a doorstop. Is
Oh.
what I mean.
So she props the door open with that.
Right. And then so I was finishing my degree in humanities and baking at a local restaurant in Yellow Springs, and food was really my focus. So
Still is.
yeah, it still is. But so I took the pottery class, loved it, but then moved on.
Mm.
So, and then when Oliver started kindergarten, 6 years now ago, I decided to try it again. I don't know, it had always kind of stayed in the back of my head as something that I really loved,
Yeah.
even though it had been such a long time. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do with myself? I'd been a stay-at-home mom. Like, do I want to go work for someone else and lose all the freedom that, we had?
Yeah.
So, and then we had the shed on the property. Like, well, let's turn it into a little studio. So we got a kick wheel, got some clay, and now I don't throw at all. I do everything slab built.
Handbuilding.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that happened in the last 6 years. since you like started picking it back up. So were you
Yep.
were you and your husband married and whatnot in Ohio, and then you were doing that? How did you kind of make the transition from Ohio to Minnesota and the whatnot?
Well, I actually met my husband in high school in North Dakota because my stepfather was in the Air Force.
Mm.
So we met, I think, between freshman and sophomore year of high school. That would have been 87. And then as is the case with Air Force brats, we moved from North Dakota to Texas, and I finished high school there and, left the hubby behind. I mean, he wasn't my hubby, but boyfriend, and just lived life. I mean, we split, wasn't like
Mhm.
we weren't gonna keep the long distance relationship going at 16. So
Right.
we found our way back into each other's lives 2003 or 4,
Oh,
and
okay.
he was living in Minneapolis, the Minneapolis area. And I'm like, I came to visit, and it was just like obvious that we still had that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That
So
thing.
that thing. I was actually living in Missouri at the time with my mom, who was going through a messy divorce. And anyway, so then I'm like, well, hey, I'll move to Minnesota. Why not?
Nice.
Check it out.
So is that where you live now? Like, do you live in Minnesota?
Yeah, outside
Okay.
of the Twin Cities, about
Okay.
30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet you're excited when Nsika was there a couple of years ago. I don't even know how long
That was
ago that
awesome.
was.
Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah.
You're like,
I got
I'm
one of
actually
your
in a hotel.
I got one of your mini shot glass cup things with the
Yeah,
stamps on.
I have your shot glass out here
Love
somewhere. But yeah, we traded.
it. Mm-hmm.
That was fun. Are
That's
y'all
what-
going to Sacramento?
Thinking about it, we're going to ClayCon West here in January. That's in St. George, Utah. Both of us are presenting there. Becca's
Mhm.
presented before, and I went for the first time in 2020. So
How does that compare to Nsika?
It's small.
it's tiny compared to Nsika, but it's more intimate. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's like 200 or 300 attendees that go to it, so
Ooh, that'd be fun.
it's
Kind of
not
It's a
it's not
blast.
overwhelming,
right.
Mhm.
especially if
Nsika's
you're
overwhelming.
an introvert and you're like blown away by all the options and you're like overwhelmed by I gotta hit everything.
Yeah.
This is better. It's like there's
Yeah.
4 things to go see at one time, so it's like you either go to the vendor hall, you either go to this long-term demo, or you go to this short-term demo. And
Yeah,
like
and that's it.
That
And
sounds fun.
Yeah, and what's cool is that like all of the presenters, at least the last time we went, like we all went and had Hawaiian food afterwards and like got to know them. It was like nice to get to know everybody. And Joe has a studio, and so we all got to like hang out beforehand too. It's just nice to, like we all had a house and stuff, and like that we did for Airbnb, and everybody that was presenting shared a house essentially.
Yeah, there was like
yeah.
6 of us that were together in there.
I mean, not everybody that was presenting, but a lot of us that knew each other, and so yeah, and it's just very, like you said, it's very intimate, and like it's cool to like see people and like
I feel like people are more approachable there too because
Yeah.
it's smaller. Like you don't feel like you're taking time away from them necessarily.
Yeah.
If you're in Nsika, there's so many things going on that it's like, oh, if you want to stay 10 minutes over, like they might not want to because they want to go to this other thing going on.
Yeah.
Or they
Right.
got a commitment with this company that they're going to demo or something. It's like, it's a
Yeah.
little
There's
more
so many
loose.
things stacked at Nsika, so many options.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming for
Yeah.
sure.
And like Tom Coleman was there. He was the keynote speaker, and I have like used his clay since I was in college. Like, I used to use his clay in college, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like to actually meet Tom Coleman, like talk to him and like have an actual conversation, So that was cool.
That sounds very cool.
Yeah.
January in Utah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's beautiful there.
I bet.
Yeah.
Is it in the mountains?
Yeah.
It's right outside Zion National Park.
Ooh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like eating lunches outside.
In
See
January?
that? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's sunny there though. So it's sunny like
It's Vegas. It's like 2 hours from Vegas.
yeah.
Oh,
So it's like
so it's on that side of Utah.
Yeah.
yeah,
The
it's really sunny
southwest.
so that it's actually like comfortable outside.
Not
It's
the
not
cold
cold.
side.
Right.
Yeah.
The hot side.
The hot
Yeah.
side of Utah.
Yeah, I know. We know.
Yeah.
There is a very cold side of Utah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do mostly handling, and like what transitioned you from like wheel thrown to handling? Were you just like fuck this shit, and then like you're like I don't like throwing actually?
Well, I did love throwing. I mean, I had the kick wheel and I finally decided to buy a a Bailey wheel, like a 1 horsepower wheel, and it was mostly the surface design
Mm-hmm.
technique. I was using the Isla transfers, the newsprint transfers, and I was I'd throw and let it get to leather hard and then apply the transfers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just became too hard to control the process as much. Like, if you miss the point of it being leather hard, the transfer won't transfer
Mm-hmm.
at that
Yeah.
stage. So I don't know. It just became too hard to control, and then
Yeah.
I tried slab building. I'm like, oh my God, I freaking love it. I just love it.
I do
And
too.
then
It's great.
all the damp boxes, having I have like 5 or 6, and using that and the slab building process, you can really control your process. You can step away from it when your kid, it's really good as a parent because you can really step away from it at any
Yeah.
moment and, make your kid a snack, as they're
Yeah.
saying, ma, ma. So they do that less now, but I think I've been slab building for 3 years now.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, when was the transition? Like, were you like, oh, this is it, you know?
Yeah, I think it was about 3 years ago. So I've been doing it pottery for 6 years. I think it was about 3 years ago that I just decided to shift all the way in to slab building.
Were you already experimenting with slab building some, or like was it like a hard? Was it like a pretty quick one once you like discovered hand building was going to fit better with your transfers and the designs and stuff that you're going for?
Yeah, I think it it seemed like it happened overnight, and I'm not
Mm.
sure. I was also doing those easy screen prints um, for some time, and those I think that's actually when I shifted. I'm like, I'm gonna print a slab and
Mm-hmm.
then make it into something. And I had watched a lot of Sarah Pike, hand building videos on Clayflix, the
Yeah.
Ceramic Arts Network, and like I'm just gonna try see how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And is the I like when you're throwing? You said that wheel throwing you want to get it to leather hard. Like, is that kind of the same consistency as the hand building, or is the leather hard at wheel thrown because you don't want to misshape the form because you're putting pressure on it? Whereas with
right.
the slab, you kind of want to do it when it's more wet than that.
Yep, I don't. The slab is the way I do it now. I'll roll out the slab and then I'll put it on a piece of drywall board to stiffen it up because I don't want it too soft.
Hmm.
If the clay is too wet, the transfer won't transfer either. So how you want. So
Yeah.
there's that sweet spot, just like with everything
And you still
in
have to be
clay.
able to manipulate it to the form you need. So probably like a soft
Exactly.
leather hard or a soft
I mean,
leather hard or something. You get those
I
stages
would
where
say
you're like,
soft leather hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like
'Cause you want
soft leather hard.
Oh yeah.
That's a great term.
That's
Yeah.
like just a little bit
Suede.
dry out of the bag.
Yeah.
That'd be like wet clay and
We
then
trim
like
a lot like that.
soft leather hard.
Yeah. You were trimming with a bisque ornament yesterday.
That's true. No, at work we trim like when they're like way too wet sometimes.
Oh, you
And
do.
yeah, because you just got to get them moving, you know? And, but it's always like, God damn it. Like, this is dumb, you know? But,
Yeah.
and especially teaching people how to trim, like when it's super wet versus right wet versus like leather hard versus way too dry. It's like, come on, can we just like find a happy medium here?
That's a big part of the process though, like understanding the right moisture level to match what you're trying to do is like a
It's
pretty
huge.
important part.
It is huge.
Yeah.
And like right now in the studio, and this happens every year, the change of seasons.
Mm,
So now things are drying super fast.
yeah.
And even if I put a slab on drywall where it would have taken all day to get to the point, now it's taking just 2 hours, so I have to really
Yeah.
be on top of checking it so it doesn't get
Is that mostly
too
because your
dry.
heater's just churning to keep it warm in there, so it's drying things out quicker than
It's
like the
mostly
summer?
just the air.
The air.
The
Okay.
humidity is so low in the winter in
Mm,
Minnesota. It's not that it's super humid in the summer, but the dew point is so much higher and it
yeah, for
just
sure.
slows the drying down.
Yeah.
I've
So,
heard that it does that here too. I would imagine it does that. You're gonna have to deal with that too, Ryan, now that you're not in a basement
It's still a
covered.
basement, but there's no.
It's not though. And it's like a sun basement, and
Okay.
so
It's not basement on two walls of it, I guess.
yeah. So I imagine that you'll have to deal with that as well. Because yeah, I've heard that does happen. It's like we're right in the middle of the season where it's like, well, is it gonna get too dry or is it gonna be too wet? Like where are we at?
Yeah.
yeah. And the timing is really important. And since I stamp too, I can't have it get too far, otherwise the transfer won't transfer, and then the stamp, I won't be able to get the impression that I
Yeah.
want. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like I've found you on Instagram a few years ago, but like, how would you say your style has transformed, and like, were those decision points because of just aesthetic you were going for? Was it customer related, or kind of how did you evolve that style over time?
it feels pretty random, to be honest, but I think it has a lot to do with, it's been a little over a year now where I kind of just went for it with color and texture. So the first was the double rainbow bloom, where it's the rainbow flowers and the rainbow dots.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, let's, more. Let's,
Right.
really just layer those colors on top. And then I did it and I'm like, holy fuck, I love this,
Yeah,
and
you can
then
cuss. It's okay. You're smart, yeah.
fuckity fuck. Anyway,
To make sure one of her kids isn't coming.
like last weekend, my husband and I went away just for 48 hours, and I'm like, I'm gonna say fuck a lot on the way up. Like, I'm just gonna vent all the fucks, because we try not to say fuck all the time around the boys, because yeah, it got pretty bad during COVID. So the early days of COVID, saying fuck a lot, even with them around. So anyway, where was I?
Oh,
Something about pottery. Oh, the color and stuff. Yeah. So got very distracted by the fucks. So since I've been using Isla transfers for years, and then I discovered, the flower, the bloom design. Then I'm like, well, what will happen if I make stamps for the triangle design and the square design? And so I made stamps that would fit within
Yeah.
those
Are they?
patterns.
So they're like bisque stamps. To
Yep,
is that kind of how you made them? Okay.
yep. And then I would kind of test it, at leather hard stage and kind of carve away and get it to
Nice.
fit into the design from the isla.
Yeah.
And then, so those two things fit, those two components of creating layers of pattern and texture, and then the last consideration is color. And then I think, I just love color. And to me, more color, more color, more better, you know.
Agree. 100%.
So then I'm like, well, what if I do, like the prism design, which is the one you have, Becca,
That's the one I have. Yeah.
is start with the red and then go through, Roy G. Biv, and then just keep repeating around.
Yeah.
And then there's the triangle one where it's, rainbow, but each triangle has its different color.
Yeah.
And then there's like the meat in the middle, which kind of looks like a quilt. But it all has to do with just using Roy G. Biv, those designs.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll tame it down and just put one or two colors. Because
Yeah.
people love, not everyone likes rainbows.
Which is a fucking shame. That's all I'm saying. That's it. Because rainbows are the shit.
They are the shit.
Do you think that when you like switch to rainbow, like, okay, before you switch to like going all color crazy, did you have a pretty big following? Like, was it medium?
My following really grew when I was doing those screen prints,
Okay.
like process.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my following has come from sharing process.
Like the
Okay.
easy
So
screens or the easily transfers and
Yep.
time
Yeah.
lapsing it and peeling it.
Yeah. Okay. So, what I'm wondering is like, were you scared when you were like, I'm just gonna go for all the color? Because like, I've always very much shied away from like going all rainbow just because I know that not everybody loves rainbows, which is, like I said, a fucking shame. And and like, do you think your following grew because of the rainbows, or do you think it kind of like has been the same ever since?
I think for sure it's grown.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wasn't scared because when I did it, I was so freaking excited
Yeah.
about the
Okay.
design. Like it came out of the kiln and I was like, holy fuck, I love this so much.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to stop
Right.
Yeah.
because it was so fulfilling artistically and creatively that there's just
Plus-
no turning back.
Yeah. Plus, if you have that excitement, like you're excited to share that, and then it's
Yeah.
gonna come across like you're not doing it with the intention of it being like trendy or
Yeah.
like that it's gonna be popular for Instagram. You were just saying you were excited and you opened the kiln and it was exciting. It wasn't like
Yeah.
you didn't do it in the wrong order of like why you were doing it. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
People
I wasn't
can-
trying to.
Oh, go on.
I wasn't trying to create something that I thought would sell. I just thought, what if I do this? And
Yeah.
then just turned out better than I thought,
That's good.
that's a freaking awesome.
We've
thing.
never really talked about that. The fact that like, I think that a lot of potters or a lot of people, just people in general, especially on the Instagram world, really consider what will sell before they consider what they like.
Mm.
You
Do
know?
you think that's a problem? I mean, not a problem.
I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but I do think it's a thing. They're like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to make mugs because people buy mugs. But like, I don't fucking like mugs. Like me personally, like I don't fucking like mugs. I've never had. The only mug I like is yours and Victoria's. Like that's like those are the only and Isaac's. Fuck you, Isaac. Definitely Isaac. Yeah. But like, I like making cups, and it took me a long fucking time to be like, you know what? I don't want to make mugs. I'm just making cups.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard because I like making mugs. They're kind of like my comfort food,
Yeah.
you know? And there's just that muscle memory there where I can crank them out. Like I was making pictures and stuff. I decided I needed to make larger forms. I just wanted to
Yeah.
challenge myself. So I did that. And then they take so much longer. I mean, just
Right.
because I don't know, they just do. And then so I did that for like 2-3 weeks, and then I went back to making mugs. I'm like, God, this is so easy.
Yeah.
And I can crank out the mugs, compared to you cannot crank out
And there's so
pitchers
much
and
on the line
trays.
with those pictures, I'm sure. Like you got, a few pictures and it takes you a long time. And are they priced appropriately that you can actually like, can you make the same as what you would on a mug scaled up? Like,
I don't know.
time, like, I feel like that's more risky, right?
How long do you think it takes?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. How long do you think it takes you to make a mug? Like, have you timed it out?
From
You
start
love
to
that
finish,
question?
no. I do get that question. I've never, because I do things in batches, and so I'll print the slab, and then I get 5 mugs per slab.
Yeah.
And but I'll do the print, I'll do the stamp, I'll do the forming, and I usually am working in batches of 10, so that because that's how much room I have to cycle through my stamp boxes. So
can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
You should time each process the next time you do it, and then let me know, because then we can divide it by 10 and see how much average you have per mug. Be interesting.
Yeah, I'll try.
It doesn't
You're
have to
giving
be
her
perfect.
homework, Becca.
I know. I'm sorry.
Okay, teach. We'll see.
I'm just curious.
How long the process takes? I mean,
Yeah.
the most laborious part of the process is putting the color in.
Oh, I bet.
And the dots.
And
But
the
again,
color and the color and everything, I'm sure it's changed a little bit, but is like how much of it is like at the underglaze process or like the before glaze process or before bisque, and then how much of it is like actual glaze? Like, are you glazing the color or kind of? Can you explain that?
No, it's so once the mug is.
She got some pieces to show here.
So this mug is bone, dry. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the Isla transfer.
And then the stamps.
And it's got the stamps, and it's got its handle and everything on it.
Yep. So
there's
ready,
no color.
No color. So it'll get bisqued, and then once they're bisqued, I'll do like a big batch. That's why I don't know the exact time, because it'll take me a whole day to do Roy G. Biv in the colors. I mean, in the flour. And then I let that dry, wipe away the excess, and then I put the dots on in Roy G. Biv as well. And then I glaze the interior of the mug and the handle.
That is extraordinarily brave of you.
What do you mean?
I always glaze the inside first.
Oh,
well, she's touching the mug a bunch, though.
I know, but I always glaze the inside first, and that's just because if I accidentally spill it on the outside, then I'm fucked.
Well, so when I do the flowers, my hand is in side. So I
No.
don't want to have glaze in there while I'm
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
So
Mm. I appreciate that you have throwing experience because you can tell.
you think?
Yeah, I
Huh.
know because I have one of your mugs. You can tell that you have some sort of throwing experience when you pick up one of your mugs because the rim is like beautiful. It's like just like I don't know, it's like thin and it's good. It's a good thin.
Thank you,
Um
Rebecca.
yeah, no problem. And I'm still trying to figure out how you do your handles, but it's,
I
they're
pulled them.
you pull them?
Mhm.
Knew it.
Is it because it's so thin that
It's so
you
thin and
weren't
so
sure?
perfect. And I was like, is she slab building these handles? Like, these are so good.
I
Yeah.
tried at Ensika. I'm like, I'm gonna try extruded handles, and I tried that, and I hated them. I hated the extruder because it would like you put your clay in, and it would kind of fart it out, and it would have
Mm-hmm.
these, you know, air pockets, and it would kind of go in spurts out. I don't know.
Hmm.
Just
Did you have the
I,
handheld one?
yeah, handheld one.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, I could see where I thought about getting a nice one for the studio, the wall mount ones. But I don't know if I would use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I pull them, I pull blanks, and then I don't like a super chunky handle, so I make them slim. Um, and
Yeah.
and then I just make a bunch of blanks and I put them in. I have a handle damp box so that I can
Nice.
have them on demand.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like chunky handles either. I would much prefer a thin handle. Um, and I agree. Yeah. Can we talk about carpal tunnel and your wrists?
Sure,
Yeah, I see you
sure.
touching your wrists a little bit as you're going because a lot of your
Yeah.
process is so time intensive and hand intensive, and besides just the hand building part, the stamping, I'm sure, and the squeeze bottles with the
Oh God,
glazes is
those are the worst, right?
that's
They
Those
are
worse than the stamping.
the squeeze bottles cause the most fatigue and pain.
I have
Okay.
to squeeze the dots on the back of my cups, and every single time, it's not even that many, and I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. I mean, I had the surgery in my right hand last December,
And is
and
this entirely based on like, did you have any problems with your hands or wrists before clay 6 years ago?
no, not really. I had experienced carpal tunnel before when I was a bread baker in when I lived in Yellow Springs at a restaurant,
Okay.
and I experienced it then, but I was still really young, and
Yeah.
it went away. It went away as soon as I stopped bread baking. Um, and this may have gone away too if I gave up clay, but I'm not gonna fucking give up clay.
Yeah.
Clay is life. Uh, so the carpal tunnel surgery on my right hand helped a lot. I mean, the numbness went away,
Oh, wow.
and
Good.
my hand was going numb every single, like even while I'd be stamping, and even while like when I sleep,
Mm-hmm.
it would go numb. So the left hand still goes numb.
So is that
So
progression of like pain, is that because you're not giving your hand enough time to rest? Is that kind of why it progresses and why it continues to get to the point where it needs surgery or some kind of assistance more than just like step away from like using your hand as intently for a period of time? Or is it like kind of what is it?
um, well, the hand surgeon would say that what happens is that around the nerve, it just starts getting more and more impinged. So scar tissue can uh, develop where that nerve goes through, and it'll just keep compressing on the nerve, keep compressing and narrowing in. So the
Hmm.
nerve, when it's impinged, it causes pain and numbness and weakness. So when they go in, they open that up. They carve away,
The scar tissue.
the scar tissue, exactly. And they also do a release of, I think, other stuff like ligaments around there as well,
Hmm.
to free up the nerve so that it
Mm.
won't get impinged anymore. But I was scheduled to have my left one done too, and I don't want to do it. So the recovery took longer, and it was harder than the hand surgeon let on.
Yeah. Tell us
But I think
about
it's
it.
Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
recovery like
We
for
want to
that?
know the nitty gritty.
Oh, well, he's like, most people are much better at 4 to 6 weeks. Well, that was bullshit for me. And he's like, most people don't need physical therapy or occupational therapy. And which I thought was kind of weird because he knew that I'm work with my hands. He knew that I'm a potter.
Hmm.
And if I was in his shoes, I would have said, you should get occupational therapy as soon as you can. Because
Yeah.
early occupational therapy with a surgery like this makes a huge difference in the recovery. So I advocated for myself, I think it was about 7 weeks post-op.
Hmm.
Like, this isn't
It's kind of like you're waiting
going.
it out, and you're like, okay, at some point it's gonna like progress quickly and feel a lot
Right.
better quickly, and it doesn't. So
It didn't.
you're like, all right, what do I need to do here?
Right. And so one of my friends who's a chef, she had said, "Oh no, you need physical therapy." And she gave me some exercises while I was waiting to get into occupational therapy. And those started helping immediately. And then I went to the hand therapist and started doing exercises daily. And within a month, I noticed a huge difference in my strength coming back. Everything
Wow.
got significantly better, but I think it would have taken months longer if I hadn't had advocated for myself to get that, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that
So
was part of that like just understanding what your timeline, like your needs for your hands were for the long term of like, did he feel like it was a delay, like you he didn't feel it was pressure enough to like get you back to that timeline, or is it like
maybe,
why not give the tools of ways to improve it early
straight
on?
out of the gate,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that I probably won't go back to this doctor because I think he's incredibly arrogant,
Yeah.
and he's like the best in the Twin Cities. But I I just feel like the care wasn't there.
Mm.
Like if I would have been in his shoes, I would have said, Amy, uh, it's up to you. Do you want to set up physical therapy for within a few weeks of
Yeah,
this?
because it can't
You know?
hurt. For the love of God, it can't hurt.
Right,
Like,
exactly. And we have really good insurance, which we're very lucky and privileged to have, and you might as well use it, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So,
especially when you got to pay that, you're paying the deductible or whatever when you're
right.
paying for that surgery. So it's like you might as well use it while you can because it's already
Yeah.
Exactly.
mostly covered, I guess, for the therapy part.
Yep, exactly. So I'm not going to get the left hand done unless it's absolutely necessary. Like I'm getting acupuncture for my back and it's going really well. I'll probably try acupuncture for
Hmm.
my hand as well.
I also, this is what I wanted to tell you because I, over the weekend, got a, sorry, my friend's checking on my kiln. I, over the weekend, got a hand massager off of the Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Amazon.
What is
The
it? What is it massaging? Like your wrist or your like your
Yeah,
hand itself, or
it
what is it?
massages your wrist and your palm, and it has little tiny dots all over the massager part. And what it's doing is it's actually bringing in air. So it's kind of like, those blood pressure squeezy
Cuffs?
things.
Mm-hmm.
that you put your arm in. It's like that, but you put your hand in. And I could tell a difference after like two times of using it, because
Oh, wow.
I have carpal tunnel in both of my wrists,
Okay.
and but it went away after
Mhm.
I did reflexology and physical therapy,
Mhm.
because they were like, you should do surgery, and I was like, fuck no. And you know, we tried all the other things, but yeah. And I talked to you a little bit about the red light, using the
Yeah.
red light, but I bought this, and they have them for I saw it on my Instagram ads.
I gotcha.
And then I went, and then I was like, and I like, it's been probably like 3 weeks or whatever, and then I was like, well, maybe I should look into that, because my hand's been hurting a lot, you know,
Yeah.
recently, and especially with all the change in the weather, it's just like fucked.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
wake
Yeah.
up, it's completely asleep,
Oh,
100%
God,
asleep.
I just
It's
hate it.
and I think I pinched something in my shoulder, which is helping that
Mm.
be the issue. But I found one on Amazon, as opposed to the one that they have, you know, that they advertised, that was $150. This is $50,
Okay.
and
Bargain hunter Becca.
yeah,
Love it.
yeah, it's Navatie, so it's Navatiee. But it's pretty cool. I bought it mostly for me and all the other production potters at work, because we
Yeah.
all deal with, like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
we have a very like hand intensive job, and like my
Yeah.
hand falls asleep when I do the squeezy bottle too.
Mhm.
And but yeah, it's nice. It's like good. And
That's good to hear.
I would recommend it for anybody
Okay.
that's having hand issues, because even if it's like not perfect and doesn't fix everything, at least like gives you a fucking hand massage at the end of the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
like,
should post it in your stories.
okay, I will. I will.
How, Amy, how much of the improving of your, because I mean, going past that surgery and getting back, you're like, okay, what do I do for the longevity of your, you know, your hands, I guess. Like,
Mhm.
what's the best ways that you've figured out? Is it like the right positions in your studio, or finding the right tools, or is it like working out your muscles and like kind of like stretching your hands, or like what are some of the techniques that
Um,
you use to improve that for the
well,
longevity?
I should be doing all of my occupational exercises that she recommended, but I don't just because I'm busy. But I do a lot of stretching, like, this one and this one. I also have a little foam roller.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if you guys follow Wellness for Makers, but she has
I,
these kits.
I've seen you share the kits before.
Yeah. And she has a hand one specifically for people who have intensive jobs. But it's called the wrist roller, and it's like a foam roller just for your hand.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it's so awesome. And I mean, the thing about all these things, these self-care things, is it's just hard to make time for them.
Mm-hmm.
It
Um,
seems like such a low priority, but it's like it's good for your body, but it's like, do I have 10 or 15 minutes to do this before I start
God, but
working
it's
in the
so
studio?
important. It's
yeah,
so important.
it is so important. And but when I do the wrist roller, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to do it all
Hmm.
day. Um, and then there's also
What was her name?
it's called Wellness for Makers
Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
On Instagram.
Okay.
Um, she talks a lot about posture and stuff like that. And then she has these kits as well. And I think she's coming out with a book on wellness for makers.
Do those kind of
Um,
exercises help prep you to work in the studio, or is it more like an end of the day, like
End of the
settling you
day.
down? Okay, yeah, because I
Yeah, I
wouldn't think
mean,
you'd want to go through those exercises and be like, all right, I'm ready to work in the studio and work with my hands.
right. I
It
mean,
might be kind of exhausting, but I don't
it
know.
probably would help. I mean, it probably would help to do them beforehand too, but yeah, I mean, it's just adding one more thing to the list
Right.
of things to do. So, um, yeah. But
Is
that
it,
so those
yeah, and
go
then
ahead.
does like time boxing your work help of like what you do for a certain period of time so you don't exhaust yourself or your
I've never heard
hands?
that term, time boxing.
Just like,
Um,
yeah, just like making sure like I'm only going to stamp for 45 minutes or I'm only going to, you know, do these transfers for 45 minutes or something, or do the glazing for 45 minutes so that you're not overexerting yourself. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
So I don't do that for the stamping portion. I mean, so initially when I first got done after when I was recovering, I didn't go straight back into stamping. I just did transfer pieces because uh I didn't want to touch stamping for a while. And so I'll try to do that now. Like I'll do the stamped work and then I'll just do some transfer mugs in between to break up the stamping. And also I'm trying to have like a more accessibly priced
Mm-hmm.
product as well. So the transfer things serve both those purposes of giving my hands a break from stamping and also having a more accessible line
Yeah.
of pieces. And then when I do the putting the color in, the ones that are the hardest on my wrist are the triangles because it's all squeeze bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I have some of those in an update, I'll do maybe 10 and then I'll go to something easier in between.
Becca,
Have you
Yes,
con-
Becca?
your hands are.
Hi. Um, have you considered an air pen?
I have, but I don't think that would be easier on
You
my
have to
hand.
change out colors and stuff into that,
I
and
would need so many cartridges. I mean,
Yeah.
I did borrow a friend's, and I just didn't. I don't know. I know if I had it, I would get used to it, but I don't think it would. You still are doing repetitive motion. Like you have to have your
Yeah.
hand on that little
I kind of
yeah,
thought the
thing,
same thing. Yeah.
and I don't. It seems like you'd still have repetitive injury.
right.
Yeah.
You know, it couldn't
Have
take away that issue entirely.
I hate to mention it,
Um,
but have you had anybody like potentially help you with some of these steps? I would feel kind of guilty like offloading those hand intensive things. Obviously, you'd have to say like I only want you working here an hour at a time, so you're not overexerting yourself. But it's like
yeah.
I don't know if that's on the table or not, or
Kinda. I mean, I've had people reach out locally saying that they would be happy to help. I
Yeah.
just like I don't necessarily, like Alon Pottery, Leanne, she has a vision for her business and it
mm,
includes having employees and she delegates to them.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't want to get that big
Yeah,
Right.
and I don't really have the space to have anybody else in the studio with me.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's a pretty small space. Um,
Because you're
and I
working in
think,
there like all day, right? Like
yeah, I'm
off, like
usually,
delivering or having somebody come pick up 10 mugs and say, I'm gonna glaze these and deliver them back to you in 5 days or 3 days or something. Like, is that
yeah,
reasonable or is that off
maybe.
the table? Because
I
I'm
feel
trying
like
to
we
see
always
like,
have
are
these
there
weird
options?
therapy sessions with our.
I feel like I don't know if there's options out there because
I
it's
don't
like
know.
because I feel like
I
you
don't
enjoy
know.
the stamping and the color and stuff. So it's like, how do you look out for your health long term? That
Well-being.
it's like I don't
Hmm.
like you like producing those things, but you know it's a detriment to your health and your wrist and stuff like that. That it's like, how can you cope with it or like make it work with you?
Yeah. I mean, it's worth considering, but I think I would suck at delegating, and I don't know how much. I don't consider myself a very controlling person, but
Mm.
I do think with something that feels like my baby,
Right.
my designs, I would have a hard time
Makes
having
sense.
someone else do it, I guess.
So
Yeah.
I was thinking as far as having people help, it'd be more like on the packing end
The
or
Mm.
packing
that
or
kind
like
of,
rolling slabs for you
yeah,
or
even that. But even then, like I always roll slabs at like right after I work out in the morning. You know, I'll come
Hmm.
out here, I'll roll the slabs, and then I'll go in and shower, and so that they can kind of
Yeah.
stiffen up. So you know, I guess I could, but
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
even know that so you still produce online that is entirely transfer designs. It's not stamped and it's not like individual glaze colored in and wiped away and stuff.
I'm trying to do that, some of those every update. Um, because right now what I'm charging for a mug, I know not everyone can afford that,
Hmm.
and
What
it
are you charging
doesn't.
for a mug for people out there that want to know what
100.
you can charge for a mug?
Well, right now it's 120, and that's shipped.
Okay.
So I
So
built in
shipping's included in there.
shipping's included, and I mean I got to that price by I just shifted to shipping included, and I say shipping included because there's no
Mm-hmm.
such thing as free shipping. So,
Right.
Right.
you know, I buy all of my eco-friendly shipping supplies, and I built that cost into the cost of the shipping as well. So it's like shipping and handling.
Right.
Um, so, but I want to have a product that's like around $80. So the transfer mugs, that's what around 80 shipped. Because there's no
Yeah.
stamping.
Do you have any of the transfer mugs on your Instagram? I haven't even seen them.
I mean, I feel like I've seen
Mm.
some back in the day, but
Yeah,
I
that's what
don't.
I used to do a lot of transfer
Yeah.
mugs, like using Sanbao
Mm-hmm.
and Elan. Um,
Yeah, because the easel
mostly
ones are
there.
more grid patterns, so they're
Yep.
more conducive to the stamping. And
Yeah.
the other transfers are more design oriented and kind of stand on their own, unless you want
They
to add.
do.
You did add some dots and stuff to some of them in the
I
past, I
used
believe,
to.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I kind of, the whole ceramic transfer business, it kind of just it blew up,
Yeah.
like transfers everywhere and everyone's doing it. It kind of felt like, how can you be yourself and keep, have it be unique if everyone's using the same transfer pattern, you
Right.
know?
Ah, I see the
So
transfers. Okay.
that's kind of why I moved away and decided to focus more on using the newsprint with the stamps because it can really make it your own that way.
Right.
So, I mean, it's hard because I love the transfers. They're easier, and
Yeah.
there's so much less labor involved in
Mm-hmm.
I like
those.
how I didn't know that you created your own stamps. I think that's a good way to differentiate yourself too, because there's a lot of stamps out there that people could be using,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and just find little ways to differentiate yourself. You got the color, you got the stamp, you got the transfer. So it's like, I think
yeah.
Becca, I don't know if Becca's talked about that or we talked about it before, where like, or maybe I've heard it before, but there's like certain parts of the process and you could just dive in and do like 3 things in this leather hard process, or you could do
Hmm.
like 3 things at the glazing process and like find some way to make your piece more unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, it seems like everyone's doing pottery nowadays. And, you know,
I
and if we
mean,
want to
yeah.
have longevity in a business, thinking of it in business terms, because it is a business, and I want to be able to keep it going
Yeah.
for many years to come. So,
We want that too.
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, we
Do
will
you
work our
do you
asses off.
consider yourself business minded, or like how do you
Um,
do you put that in
yeah.
your brain as you're making, or as the pricing of it, or
Well, with the pricing of it, I just have used the model where if if things are selling out quickly, every update you up the price again, the
Mm-hmm.
next update, just by like $5 increments.
$5?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And
That's,
then once the sales kind of slow a bit, you've kind of reached the sweet spot. I mean, I've heard about that also for like a show.
Hmm.
What's her name? The good elephant, or something like that. But May Ray, I think is her name, but she talks about how she'll even during an art fair, if she has something priced low and it's selling too quick, she'll change the price even in the middle of a show
Wow.
because she realized that it's not at the sweet spot. It shouldn't be selling that quick. But so anyway, that's the way I've got to the price because I know how much time and effort has gone into the pieces. Like maybe I should be charging 140. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what's gone into that. But no, I wouldn't say I'm business minded other than I've tried to set myself up at the beginning of the year where I know my goals for when I'm going to have an update, which updates are, the spacing of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I have a plan to produce for those specific dates because it gives me, instead of being all over the place, I can focus my energy to have updates.
That's a motivator for you to meet those deadlines and self-imposed, and then you can not feel like you're waiting too long between giving your customers some options of buying, and then also not killing yourself to meet something unrealistic.
Well, that's another thing, like speaking back to avoiding injury, I used to try to go 4 to 6 weeks between updates. And after the surgery, way too quick.
Especially for hand building, that seems pretty quick.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but now I try to go for 8 weeks, and that's kind of the sweet spot, like 8 to 9 weeks between updates. I feel like I have time. I can actually take breaks and like go to lunch with a friend and if one of the kids is sick, I can tend to them instead of the really tight schedule was stressful and I was burning out and my body was obviously burning out. So, I mean, finding that sweet spot, I guess, that's part of it's hard, but it's important, I think.
And you can produce better quality stuff in 8 weeks, I would suppose, than you could in 4 to 6 weeks if you're in a rush,
Yeah, really taking the time, putting the effort behind every piece. Would agree. Stop it.
Stop, Becca.
I'm sorry. Everybody's like, now they're gonna know. They're gonna know that like
when Becca mutes, you know what's going on.
It's late at night.
It's 11 in the morning, Becca.
She was up late baking bread.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. She showed up today, this morning.
I showed up for you guys.
Yes.
So what are the ways you sell your stuff? Do you entirely sell online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of COVID, May last 2020, we bought a trimline tent thinking maybe we'll do shows.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still in the box. So
yeah.
And we thought, well, maybe we'll sell it. But then this summer we decided to keep it just, maybe when we'll
use it around the house or something, or
right.
Trimline's the really ugly ones, right? The ones with the.
I don't think they're ugly. They have
Is that a dome tent?
Yeah, it's a dome tent.
Okay.
They are ugly.
That's a fancy tent.
I think they're nice. They're not ugly. Yeah.
They're nice.
Yeah.
Becca doesn't like
You
it.
think they're ugly?
I do.
I'm trying to think of what it is.
I won't try to sell it to you.
How much are those?
It's like $2,000.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the best tents out there for sure. They're 100% the best tents out there.
Yeah.
It was an investment that's still sitting in a box. But yeah, I mean.
So had you sold at shows before?
Just one.
Just one. Wow, that's a big investment.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to get the trim line. I was like, let's get one of these easy ups, know. And
it's like $200.
He's like, let's get the holy shit package.
That's my husband though. He's like, just buy it right once. And in his mind, the trim line was the way to go.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, it is, honestly.
I mean, I'm sure that it is the best of the best.
It is the
I
best.
don't.
Of the best.
I feel bad for the people that have to set those, because you got to get there like 6 a.m. to set those things up, because it's like poles
So
and
much
everything,
work.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's quite the yeah. Yeah. I don't think I want to do shows. And the reason why I shifted away from that is like I don't know how many people at shows are gonna buy a mug for
Yeah,
a
you're a little
hundred
bit.
bucks.
Yeah, it's more risky, I think.
Yeah.
You have to find the right shows, You can go to like these fine art shows. I was talking to my studio mate about that because both of my people that do this share my personal studio. They both have cups that are like price up, like
Yeah.
120. And Sarah signed up for a show not knowing what it was. She
Yeah.
accidentally signed up for the show, and it turns out it's a hobby show. It's like,
Oh yeah.
it's the big Christmas gift show at the convention center type thing. And so I'm sharing the booth with her because I have the shitty cups, and those are perfect for that. But yeah, you do have to know what type of show.
Yeah, that's a science in and of itself to pick the right places and be willing to like risk it to see what happens. And
Yeah.
if you're making a living
that's costly.
at it, and you're like, I could sell these online, and
Why
I would
would
have
you?
no
Why would you
problem.
do a show if you can sell them online? Really? It's like you
Yeah.
can only make so much shit, and if you're selling out every single time you sell something, why the hell would you pay $300 to go to a show or $1,000 to go to a show to make $3,000 when you could do that online without the overhead?
Right. Oh yeah. And now we have a system that makes it so it's not easy. It's still a lot of it's effort and labor, but we have it streamlined. The the
Yeah,
process of an update is very this is how it goes,
structured.
How
Yeah.
does
and
it
it
go?
works.
Tell us
How
how
does
it
it go?
goes.
I have an IG video series for that, Becca. I do. What I do is I do the number system for
Hmm?
updates. So like if I have 50 mugs, I number them 1 to 50, and then they all get packaged before update day. So I wrap them in Ran Pack and then corrugated cardboard, and then their number label goes on them, and then I have them
Love it.
on the shelves in my office, and they're in order, so that once update day hits, it's really a matter of pulling. Just you look at the invoice and then mug one and put it in the box, and
Mhm.
like I'll set up the boxes and put the peanuts in, and then the void fill and everything.
Yeah.
Do you, when you take your pictures, let's see, I'm on your website. Oh, you don't. Do you set the number in the pictures, or are you not?
Yeah, it's in there. It's usually the last picture.
Oh, okay.
So I try to do the first picture just as a nice like money shot, and then
Yeah.
and then the last picture
Oh, mug
one
20 right there.
yeah,
Okay.
it'll say and then it's on the the corrugated cardboard when
Yeah.
when the
Cool.
person receives it.
How are you photographing? Do you have like a backdrop? I've looked at your site yesterday for the second sale, but I can't remember what the backdrop looked like. It looks like kind of a
Yeah,
natural thing, right?
I'm not really right now. It's a yellow table I got at a antique store, and then it's a antique like chalkboard
Yeah.
that I got them at. And I'm still I don't like the
Gradient
gray
backdrop.
gradient.
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I'd say my favorite is probably like Sarah Pike. But I think she has a spot in her studio that has the perfect light. Like I don't
Yeah.
have that. We have one south facing wall in our house,
Yeah.
and that's the only I use the natural light.
You have to kind of craft it a little bit to like find the right spot.
It is. It's not easy, and it has to be afternoon light. Otherwise, the
Mhm.
morning light's just not strong enough, especially in the winter. So,
Yeah. Do
uh,
you use your I know you. Do you use a phone for most of it, or what do you
Yeah, I use
photograph with?
my iPhone
Just like the
12.
rest of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I see the blur
Yeah.
effect on a lot of the photos, and I'm like, that's portrait mode iPhone. Like, it
Love
always looks so
portrait
good.
mode. Yeah, it works. It really makes
Plus, that's how
you
you know
feel
the
like
handles are so thin because it like blurs out the handle. It's like, damn, this is a thin handle.
it, that drives me crazy that it blurs the handle. It's just I try it like if you turn it just a little bit more with the handle forward, it'll capture the handle,
hmm
but otherwise it's very hard to get the handle to
Yeah,
have.
yours look really
Yeah.
good because they're like straight on pictures look really good, or like in your hand at an angle, kind of like the pint glasses look really good with the just that sharpness of the photos like really ups the Instagram look
I
for
love
sure.
those pint glasses. I'm gonna get one of those eventually.
All right, I'd love for you to have one. We could always trade fancy pint glass for
Fancy,
fancy
fancy.
pint glass.
Oh
Know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, all right, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
So wrapping
Man.
up the shipping, are you getting a lot of single orders, like single pieces, or are people buying multiples?
Yeah. I get both. Some people are really good at buying multiples. It kind of depends. I got my first order from Australia yesterday.
Wow.
Ooh.
That person ordered 3 things.
Wow.
And
That's gonna
yeah,
be an
so
expensive
that's the other
package.
part about having an online or shipping is that knowing what box size is right for an order. Like I know what box I use for someone who's ordering 3 mugs at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And
hmm
then, one mug is a 8 by 8 by 8, you know. I think that just having that kind of system makes it all easier. I mean, when I
Yeah.
first started, I think I would be like, I just didn't know,
You're finding
I
boxes that fit and not getting a
exactly
standard size.
right on the
Mm-hmm.
fly. So now I order hundreds of boxes at a time from a local packaging source and void fill, all that stuff. But once you do it enough times, you get your own process
Yeah.
dialed in. I mean, wouldn't you say, Ryan? You sell online, don't you?
Yep. Yeah. I got the Rampack here recently, or in the last 9 months or so. I like it. I'm even wrapping up like shot glasses with Rampack now. If it's like a
Yeah,
single shot glass, I'm like, I'm just gonna the ease of it. It's like I could wrap this in something else, but it's like I'm just gonna use this. Like it's quick.
I love Rampack.
The
Put
efficiency
them
of it
on.
is nice.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
love it.
I feel like whenever I did updates and stuff, like my my whole shop would turn into like a fucking peanut like farm. It was, like I had a good system, and I just like you, I would do the number system, but I just
Yeah.
don't care if they're in the pictures. I'm like, this is number one. This is, I'm like Hammerly, like that's how I do my pictures. But
Meaning you like sit them on a table and make sure the focus is not too.
no,
What do you mean?
he just puts
He
a
does the
sticker number
number.
on his.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the sticker was not in there.
No, it's like right on. It's just
It's
stuck
in
to the
there.
cup.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
And then I take it, and then I just make sure to stick that number on the bottom of the cup when I wrap it up. But yeah, I hate peanuts. They're the fucking worst. And I
The
just
biodegradable ones are better though. They're not as
not
static.
if you live in anywhere with rain. Like
You probably have one of those
Yeah.
big chute things though, right?
I wish I did. Nah, I don't. I
Becca,
use
didn't you have those
my
big
tub.
chutes that you do the clamp
You
thing?
did.
I had a chute, but it was in the back of the shop. And what happened?
It seems
We
like it would be hard to
we
control.
changed the
Like it would
back.
just
We
go
changed the back
everywhere.
to yeah. We changed the back to glazing, and so then I had to change the front to packing, and so I just put a fucking picture in the peanut thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, like it's Andrew's shoot. It was Andrew's shoot, so he got to keep it
Okay.
and take it for himself. But Yeah, I mean the shoot's good. The shoot's great, but it's also a pain in the ass as well because it gets in the way.
Right.
There's no
I don't
good
think I
way to
have room
ship.
for it.
There's like literally never a good way to ship. It's like it's always going to be a pain in the ass regardless.
I like
Uh,
shipping. I think it's fun.
you're
Do you?
you're
Do you
crazy.
like shipping,
You're
Amy,
w-
when you've got like 40 boxes, or is it nice when it's like that's all I've got to do for the next 2 days? Or is
I
it
don't
kind of
mind it. I mean, I don't mind it, but I did used to. I don't mind it so much now because of the system. The system really helps. And my husband helps too. So he'll make boxes for me because yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, boxes come flat. They're not made for you already.
hmm
So
Right.
he'll do that. Sometimes the boys will stamp the boxes for me, but I want to get branded tape instead.
hmm
I think it's a great
Because I
idea.
don't really like the stamping. It's just extra work.
Yeah.
I'm all for
So
non-descriptive boxes. I sent a Hammerly
yeah,
box once.
you do,
I think I might have done
you
that
do
too. I reuse
for
some boxes
reusing,
if other potters send
yeah,
me.
yeah. Well, hell yeah, I love it when I get Rand pack wrap stuff or biodegradable peanuts. I just add them to my stash.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh my
But
God, can we switch to your awesome clay videos of like not clay, unpacking videos of people like when did that start? When did like buying shit from other people start? Um and like 'cause you do it every update, right?
yeah, I try to always support another maker after uh after a successful update. Just makes sense. And I I don't know. I mean, I we all collect each other's work,
Yeah.
that's part of being an artist and a maker and definitely potters. I mean, I have way too many pots
Oh
in
yeah, you for sure do.
the house, but I can't stop either. I mean,
hmm
So, and I think it started because Ollie just you're talking about the unboxings with Oliver,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has an interest in art and he's a very genuine person and a very like has an eye for beauty and it's just
Mhm.
he enjoys that
Yeah.
surprise element. And so we just started doing it and then I'm like, people are really digging this. I should save, so he has his own little sections on my Instagram,
Yeah.
more unboxings because
Yeah.
he loves doing it. And I love it. I just love when he has one of those moments, like when we got a ramen bowl from Sprixieland, and
Mhm.
it's such a great pot. But he's like, Mom, this is the best pot ever. And it's so authentic and sweet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just
It's
love
like
that.
unfiltered and like, sometimes you just gotta kind of, if you can get back into that childlike mindset. And how old is he
Yeah.
now?
He's 11.
He's 11. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a
So
good
it's like
age.
getting into that status or that like state of just like being wowed by like opening your kiln or like, unboxing something, even though you like know it.
Yeah.
Does he know what you're buying does
No,
he like know?
no. They're a
Okay.
surprise for him. Yeah,
Okay.
That's so fun.
yeah, he loves that element of, and he's taking ceramics.
He is?
Yeah, he's going to an arts middle school and he's taking ceramics.
Oh
Fun.
So
my God. Is he like the kid that's like, my mom does this for her job? Like,
I don't know, I said when we went to open house, it was I couldn't even talk to the ceramics teacher because there were too many people in there. But she looked cool. She was wearing dance goes and looked like an artist. So I think
Love it.
she's the right
she's a,
right person for the job. She looked artsy, you know.
Yeah.
She wasn't just like some teacher who had no experience in
right.
ceramics put in that job. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
um
like I'm a 3D artist and you're gonna do ceramics now.
The black
right,
rimmed
right.
glasses. Like, yeah,
Yeah. So he's
that's funny.
loving that. He's
That's
making
great.
a tiger sculpture or something like that
Oh,
right
nice.
now.
Nice.
Cool.
So
Yeah, I love it when he whips out his knife and then like cuts the box, because I'm like, I know that he's probably better with a knife than almost any adult, but I am positive that most adults watching that, like, this is what I envision when I watch it. Most adults watching that are like, he's gonna cut himself, blah blah blah. I'm like, have you seen him close it? He's like, "Meh." Like, he's so good about closing it, and like he's got the knife safety down pat. But that's my favorite part.
yeah, he wants he's the funny thing about Ollie is that he wants to be a collector of so many things. So knives is one of them. He wants to collect knives, and he got his first one this summer from his dad when we were traveling, and it's his survival knife. You know, it
Yeah.
has its own sheath. And yeah, he likes to use that for opening boxes. It's hilarious. But
So,
the other day he said he wanted to start a mug collection. I'm like, oh no, no, no.
We've already got
There's
one mug
only
collection.
right, there's
you
only
can just
room
be
in this
added
house.
into mine.
Right, right. I don't have room for that. When you move out, you can collect mugs. Yeah, he's fun. I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad that people get a kick out of him because
Yeah.
Yeah.
he
What
loves
about your
he
other
loves doing it.
14-year-old
Toby,
Toby? That's right. Is he
he's a
interested in
teenager.
pottery at all? Or he's a teenager, obviously, yeah.
It's hard to say what he's interested in. I mean,
Mm.
he,
He
he's
always
just in that kind of. He what?
he's always in tie-dye.
He loves tie-dye. He loves color. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, he's just in that stage, kind of like doesn't. I don't know.
He's like figuring it
I love.
out.
Yeah, yeah. So we kind of just have to expose him to lots of options until he
Everything.
finds the thing that feels like him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he loves, like, his favorite thing is texture on a piece. If I get a piece with texture, like, he's just crazy. At Ensika in 2019, I got a Kelly Justice mug. She
Ooh,
uses
love
those
those.
molds, yeah, and they're just like texture on every part of
Hmm.
the mug. And I remember I got it, and it was the last morning of Ensika, and I had it. I had coffee in it, and Toby went and picked it up and turned it over to look at,
Oh.
and it had coffee in it, so it spilled everywhere because he loves texture so much. You know, he wanted to see
Right.
every surface of it. So
Yeah, well, both of your kids are neurodiverse, right? So
yeah,
that sensory situation is
What is
the
big.
sensory thing,
neurodiverse?
not well. That's just it's just the nice way of saying like ADHD, and not neurotypical. Neurotypical is someone who doesn't have any of that. But I don't really know any neurotypical people, to be honest. So,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
but like if
Well,
you
there's a
have
lot of,
on the
yeah, like,
autism spectrum,
yeah,
Asperger's, ADHD, ADD, all of
yeah.
those are neurodivergent.
Oh, that's like under a
Uh,
category of
Yeah. Like,
neurodiverse or
I'm
neurodivergent.
neurodivergent. Somebody thinks I have
Me
autism.
too.
Yeah, me too. We're,
Yay.
yay. And I have like a big thing with sensory stuff as well. And that's why like my
Mm-hmm.
cups are very smooth,
Hmm.
and like not the regular shit, but like
The
um
fancy.
the fancy cups are very smooth, and they have like the bumps on the backside and
Right.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Toby, his first diagnosis was sensory processing disorder, but he likes to chew on stuff, he likes to touch stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of feels more on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But a lot of ADHD people have coexisting
Oh, yeah.
uh stuff. So,
Hmm.
but yeah.
No, I think it's cool. I mean, it's great. There, like, there's so many benefits to it.
Yeah,
That our society in the past has not really given any thought to. And but
I
yeah,
agree.
like my
But
whole
it's hard.
family has ADHD essentially. So,
our whole
So,
house does. So it's, yeah, I mean, I changed my major, I think, 7 or 8 times. And even then, at the end, I chose humanities just because it was so broad of a
Right.
viewpoint of human civilization. Just it was a way to have learn a lot of different stuff.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, with Toby, I think it's hard for him to focus on any one thing. And so he will never commit to one thing
Yeah.
for a long enough period to get good at it. He wants to be good at it straight out of the gate. For me, clay was the first thing I found that captured my attention so completely, that, and there's nothing, you could just never be bored.
I agree. I agree completely. I have also, I was always the one that was making Tyvek wallets and making jewelry and making all these things. All through my life, I've been making little things to
Yeah.
sell or to do. And I've had billions of hobbies, billions of hobbies and billions. Clay was the first thing that was oh, I'm not good at that part. Let's try this.
Right.
I can try anything within clay, and it's the first thing that's ever stuck with me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a good feeling for sure I
yeah,
mean, for me, it didn't come until I was in my mid 40s. I'm going to be 50 this year, and I wish I would have found it younger. You see these younger potters, and it's like, God, to have found it so young when you're in your 20s or even younger just feels like such a gift. But,
yeah.
I don't know if I don't think my approach would have been the same. So,
It wouldn't have. You
you know,
probably would have figured out your shit when you're 40. You know.
right. It still would have taken that long. Right. That was probably a lot too, because I was all over the place still, you know,
Yeah.
in my brain.
So if you had found it when you were in your 20s or 30, what do you think would be different? Are you wishing you had the longevity of the types of work you're experimenting with, or what parts of it do you think would be different for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think just more guidance instead of just figuring it all out myself. I
Mm,
mean, working in a studio to, at home is very isolating. And you know, I don't want to say I'm self-taught, but I am just through watching lots of,
yeah.
videos but I didn't go to school for it,
Right.
and I didn't take a long-term class in it. So I just feel like I'm making it up as I go. And I just have a curiosity that feeds that. And that's a really good thing. But I can see the benefit of like going through a ceramics program at a college and getting that critique and help and support from someone who has done it and failed and succeeded. And I think that would be a very beneficial thing, to get.
Hmm.
Um, so, I mean, at this point, for me, it's all comes from Instagram, regular customers, that kind of feedback and critique.
Right.
And
Is
Yeah.
that hard to go through that feedback and sift through and figure out what's beneficial? Because I feel like it's going to be overwhelmingly positive and hard to find the gaps and see where you can improve if you're shipping it remotely, you're sharing through Instagram, which is, I would say, pretty much positive. You're not really going to get critical feedback through there unless it's through DMs maybe, but
right,
is it
right.
hard for you to kind of figure out where the gaps are or where you can improve? Or
I feel like I'm my biggest critic. I mean,
yeah.
and I have my husband who is also has a very critical eye, because we buy when you I think that's one of the benefits of buying a lot of pottery from other people is
Hmm.
you it can help you see where the gaps are in your own creativity and your
Mm-hmm.
own pieces to see, you know, it's not that you're doing it, you know, I'm not going to make a Hammerly mug, but to have a Hammerly mug is to see what goes into his process, and or a Becca fancy cup, you know,
Right.
I think it's a good thing to do to help you view your work from with a different eye. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe that's the way I would go about saying how I can critique my own work. Not
Yeah,
in like
for sure.
my work's better than that. No,
Yeah,
I don't
but
mean
that's
it like
that is
that.
a good thing that I didn't actually consider with you buying other people's work, but that definitely
Mm-hmm.
comes into play when you're breaking down somebody's piece and looking at how they treat the bottom or how they do their handle or whatnot.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
so good because, like, I mean, how many pieces have whenever I go to Ryan's house, we look at all of his mugs and stuff, and I'm like, I hate this, blah blah blah. Like, you know, like I either hate this or I love this, right? But you're literally looking at pieces and you're observing things that you're like, oh, I would have never done that,
Right.
you know,
Right.
or
Or how
I
you would
will
do
never
that.
do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just think it's beneficial in that way. But I can see where having an actual, like a professor critique your work when you're going
Mm-hmm.
through a program,
Or
it would
just
have value.
or like another way that I get feedback is through like peers. Like I have people that are local to me that I see at art shows and I see their stuff and I talk directly with them about their stuff or see them experimenting.
Right.
And if there's not a local community to you, it could be harder to get some of that kind of
Yeah.
feedback. Not that I'm like asking for like, hey, can you critique my stuff? But it's like they stop by your booth and see you making some new stuff and say, oh, I like how you did this thing, or
Yeah.
ask for some feedback about colors or something like that.
Shove a pot in their hand. Tell me what you think of this. I need all the bad things.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can see where that community aspect is something that's kind of missing from the way I do things and
Yeah.
having my own home studio. But
Thank God for
that's what it is.
internet, right? Thank God for the internet.
Well, that's a good point, because sharing on Instagram, using it in that way, sharing new stuff, sharing ideas, you do get a lot of feedback. You can
Mm-hmm.
tell what people are drawn to or just kind of like meh about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is good.
although
Yeah.
Instagram's always like changing constantly.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so true. Well, I don't know. I think that, I mean, I agree that going to college and getting a critique is good, but I also think that there's something to be said about what I found when I went to college, and I don't know if Ryan had this similar experience, but like typically what I found was all the people that would be in classes would be doing similar things. You know, it would be a similar, like, I'm thinking of one class that literally the professor made us all do the same style. Like, you know, in the class, and then would critique, and she was a fucking shit professor. But like, but then, you know, when it comes to like clay or anything like that, when I was in my clay class, like everybody was kind of doing the same techniques and the same like styles, because that's what the professor was teaching, you know. And
Right.
and we didn't get a lot of critiques because my professor was a hippie, but it was kind of like a do it on your own sort of situation. But I do think that learning it on your own, like you have done, and being self-taught has a certain point of advantage, just because you don't have the pressure of doing things a certain way. You have like this And of
But
course,
you also don't have the pressure of learning certain techniques because you're being asked to do those techniques.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And so it's, and I mean, like, yeah, going to like a fine art college, like fucking Alfred or whatever, I'm sure is completely different. But at the same time, you know, you're like, this is what I like and this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it, as opposed to like, you have to do this technique because
That's our
the
project right now.
That's
It's part
the
of the
problem.
program, right?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely advantages to both. You do miss out on some stuff, but you get to your end goal, I think, a little bit quicker sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't go back and change anything, so
No,
but
you can't get younger.
haven't figured that. No, and I don't think so. Ah,
I think my college experience was more like you're kind of getting the breadth of the options available on the table that you can experiment with. Like understanding the
right.
different forms that you can throw and like, okay, we're going to handle, you need to do 10, you need to make a bunch of cylinders and then you need to handle a bunch of them. And like you're just kind of getting through that repetition side of it,
Mm.
which is really
Right,
important for
right.
pottery, of learning the repetition so you can get better. So that was like kind of like prerequisite for the more experimental and like on your own projects that you could do when you take
Mhm.
certain courses that are like primitive firings or whatever, where you're doing raku and you're doing wood firing and you're doing like sagger firing or whatever, that you can like make
Mhm.
whatever form you want. It's up to you. And you just have to consider like, okay, we're going to do it through the lens of like firing it a certain way.
Right,
So like there's
right.
certain things that are conducive. I mean, that's also kind of keeping you into that, like, okay, we're going to fire it a certain way. That's part of the project, but it's like you still have flexibility on like what you make. And then
Right.
later on, I got into like independent study, which is more like that's completely up to you what you want to make. If you want to do production wheel throwing, if you want to sculpt something, if you want to, do something more intricate, like you can do whatever you want. So I would say the classes kind of fall into Becca's bucket of where she was talking about like following the projects. But I think that's more just like
Right.
you don't necessarily have the experience with clay. So you're like, or not everybody does in the class. So you're kind of like understanding the properties of clay.
Yeah.
And the different
Sure.
stages of what you need to learn. And
Yeah.
those upper level classes give you the flexibility to do what you want. And it gives you all
And
the
use
options of the resources of the studio.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's very valuable. I mean, obviously.
Right.
But I could see, the way I've done it is limiting in some ways, but it's also really liberating. So,
Yeah.
and
Obviously, it's working.
it is working, and
Yeah.
that's a good feeling. So
Yeah. Thank
I like
God, right?
well, yeah. I mean, I like what I make, and but being able to sell it is a big deal, it really is. So, I mean, I went through years of making and then stuff would just sit on a shelf. So it's not like it didn't happen overnight.
Mhm. Yeah.
Was that like, did it take your own, like, I need to get rid of this stuff that motivated you? Or was it like, okay, I want to like try this business side of it more and like hone that skill?
I think at some point I was just making too many things to keep anymore,
Mm.
and then also, yeah, I mean, I think you get to a point where you're happy with what you're making and you feel like it's good enough to share and sell,
Yeah.
and then, at first though, I wasn't selling. I mean, it took years to get to a sellout update,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's good to like just make a bunch of stuff for like 3 years or like 5 years. Like it's good to have those years under your belt, not for the sake
yeah,
of like, okay, I mean, I get it. Some people need to like pay for their resources to actually keep the hobby going or keep the small business going. But it's kind of good to have those years under your belt of like experimenting and figuring out what you like making and what's like to a quality enough state to sell.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, oh, for sure. It's
If you have
all
the
you're
option
learning.
to maintain that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're learning a lot along the way. So, yeah, that
Sometimes,
informs your future stuff.
yeah.
So,
Sometimes I think about these people that, I'm not going to say kids, but these people that like get a following really quickly, like they do get the overnight success, and they sell out immediately, and I'm like, you're missing so much. Like, you're like, I know that it's great and that you're like selling out, but you're like missing the part that's like, fuck, like what did I fucking do? What did I do wrong? Like, like you're missing the struggle, and like you're missing the part where somebody's like breaks a plate in the microwave and was like, why the fuck did this happen? Like, and like freaking out over like freaking out over something like vitrification or something like that. You're missing that. And like it'll all come to you at once, and then it'll be like a
and you've got enough customers that like they're gonna come back to you at a time that it's like
I like how lucky it is.
And you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Right.
While
like
a bunch of people already have it.
Yeah, how lucky it is that they have that and that they can sell out, but also like how unlucky if it ever comes back at you,
Right. Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, I feel like I just worked my ass off to get to where I am. And it was a lot of struggle. Lots and lots of struggle, and feeling like no one likes me. I think we all go through that. And Instagram it's a really incredible platform, but it's also, you can't put all your self-worth in the likes of a post, and it can be very hard to not get wrapped up in that. But for me, Instagram is definitely a huge part of my success. Having it as a marketing platform, and I like to think of it as a connecting platform, because that's what I'm happiest when I'm connecting, making it about that, and not, oh shit, I haven't posted in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I gotta get a post. So there's some of that too, but it feels better and more authentic when it's about connecting with people. And I feel like I know you guys, even though I've only met Ryan. And I mean, that's the part I love about Instagram, is that you really get to know people if you make an effort. So.
Really, truly, and that really adds to your success.
Yeah.
It so like being a human on Instagram and like connecting with people, especially when you're selling a mug for $120, really really like adds to the success, because really in sense you're selling your mugs to other potters and collectors, and because not very many other people would buy a $120 mug. So that I mean, I don't know any other people that would buy a $120 mug. But I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And you really have to have somebody that really appreciates it, but then they feel like they want to know who you are too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I would agree.
You mentioned the Instagram side of things, and I was the newest thing comes up about the likes and stuff, and that like turning it on and off thing. I was just looking at your Instagram to see if you turned it off or not.
I turned it off just to see.
Yeah, just trial running it and seeing how it goes.
Yeah.
What is that? Let's talk about it. What I haven't, like, I'm not really on Instagram on them.
So when you go to Instagram,
yeah, you are too. You and your stories.
I just post the stories and then I leave.
She's like, drop it and go.
The Lloyd and Babs saga. Isn't it Babs?
Yeah, Babs.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
The saga of their friendship. Their hate affair and then love affair. Yeah. I turned them off just because I don't like that feeling of posting for likes.
So what the difference is when it looks like it's per post, at least for now, the last two posts.
It's per post.
Yeah, so it says, you go to one of Pine Zen Pottery's posts, it says liked by username, and others. It's going to
Right.
first
It
show
says
like the
others.
people that, it's going to be the people that I already follow or I'm friends with. So mine says like DM Durbin, which is my mom, and others. Otherwise, they would say liked by whatever DM Durbin and 350 others.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So
But
that's
it
the
doesn't
difference.
you can still find out the count in your insights, and also if you're in the activity feed, it still shows the number. I'm just like, well, that's pointless.
Yeah.
You can still go to the heart and it'll say how many people have liked it there. It just doesn't show it on the post.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's
So
more public
it
facing,
really,
but you can also you can see it for yourself a little bit.
yeah, if you want to see, how people are responding to what you're making and stuff. But even then, I don't think, I mean, getting 200 likes when you used to get 1,000, which is kind of what Instagram has become. There's really big accounts who are getting very few likes in proportion to how many followers they have. And that's just across the board,
Yeah.
So, and I think it's hard you're like, am I still valuable here? I mean, I can see where people are, it's as a maker and someone who's a small business as well, that you kind of are missing that feedback.
I think there's more competition though too, that everybody's like if people are on there an average of like 30 minutes a day. There's also like TikTok and there's there's only so many hours in a day. If you can only dedicate 30 minutes to social media, maybe you'll be on Instagram for 15 and maybe you'll be on you might be on TikTok longer, but it's like how many posts are you realistically going to see in 15 minutes?
That's true.
So is it reasonable to expect the same results back when TikTok wasn't as big as it was? Or
that's a good point.
So
I don't spend any time on TikTok.
I don't know that it's like
You should, it's
intentionally
fun.
like holding people down, but it's I think it's just a matter of like, I mean they do change things of how they decide what to show people, but it's ultimately based on what you engage with the most because they want you to stay on the platform. So if you engage with it, if you comment on it, like it's gonna bump those people to the forefront of your feed, like if you're gonna engage with them most because they want you to stay there. So I don't know that it's like I don't know that it's intentionally holding people down. I think it's I think it's more like the content is like if the content is good and you could, choose, the word content, good content is kind of its own like, weird word of like what's good, and it's not necessarily a representation of like is the work that you're producing good. It's like is the way that you're marketing it and showing it and documenting it good.
Right. Yeah.
And putting your captions together and how your your narration of it or however you're putting it across, is that coming across in a way that people want to engage with or not so much. So
all true.
It takes its own skill set.
Oh, it does. And it takes, kind of developing a thicker skin and not taking it personally too. Because you can have a great post one day and then a tanked post the next, and just kind of have to roll with it. And so but I'm very grateful for Instagram.
So am I.
I like stories. I if I'm not going to post on my feed, I definitely will do stories because I think I always check out people's stories.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing I think that's a way to really get to know people more intimately.
Definitely.
So,
I only do stories really, and I'm always like, oh right, I have to post.
Yeah.
Like
it kind of seems like that.
The post kind of feels like monumental, right? So like, what am I gonna put out there for this thing? Like, what's big enough that I want to put into a post?
Yeah, I mean, like,
my favorite was when you had the picture of yourself and you started out by saying, "It's been a while since I did a introduction here on Instagram," and then you said, "Ha, no, fuck that."
I'm not doing that.
So I was like,
not doing that.
Yeah, it's been a while since I did an introduction. on Instagram. I'm just kidding. Fuck that shit.
Yep.
Well, it's
That
so
was funny.
true. Like, I fucking hate those posts. It's like we all know who you are, and we can scroll down and see your fucking face. If your face is there, then we know that you're gonna say like. It's so dumb. I don't know.
I've done them.
I've done them. We've all done them. Like, we've literally all done them. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I think you should. But at the same time, like,
It's just a little funny. It's like,
Yeah. That was LOL. Maybe LOL when you did that, Becca. I LOL'd IRL.
I think that like going into COVID and going into like not having like literally not having any content to post about has been really revolutionary for my Instagram. Just because it's like, you know what, fuck it. I don't fucking care. I don't care what you guys want. I'm just gonna post whatever the fuck I want. Like,
yeah.
Like, if you like it, that's great. Stick around. If you don't. Like, and I think that it's really helped, especially what?
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah, it does. It's like, hey, and that's why I do stories so much. It's because, like, hey, like, this is fucking funny. Like, this cat is on a shelf. Like, who doesn't think that's funny? Like, nobody doesn't think that's funny. And yeah.
Adventures of Lloyd have just been so fun.
Yeah, and it's like if you got something funny to share, like I can sell my pottery all day long. If I post something up on Instagram, it's gonna sell. It's, eventually it's gonna sell. But you know what helps me sell that pottery is me posting fucking pictures of my cat. Like,
yeah.
Because
they know you're not here to sell pottery. You're here to like be yourself, and then the pottery is like kind of secondary.
Yeah, and it's
like the pottery's the thread that's
right.
like consistent, but it's not the forefront.
Right, and they know that they're like, if they buy a piece of pottery, they're buying cat food. Really, like that's it.
And bread making and pasta making supplies. And food yeah, totally.
For sure.
And cool plastic cups and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Lemonade cups. Yeah, I'm listening to.
She's got rid of that lemonade cup.
Oh yeah.
I think I did finally throw it away, but I kept the straw for Lloyd.
Yeah, I think just like you do have like an intimacy with people while you're like sharing stuff through your phone, because like it's usually it's a one-on-one experience.
Right.
So like they could really get to know you. Kind of like if you like podcast, if you like certain podcasts, like you listen to them and you feel like that's a very one-on-one experience. So I feel like the depth of like dedication to that person or that platform or whatever, like you actually get a more deep connection with that individual.
Yeah. Like a loyalty, just because you feel like you know them and you've connected with them, for sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
For sure.
I gotta pee.
All right.
We should probably go anyway. It's Halloween and I gotta get to my friend's house.
I'm sorry. I don't have a bathroom in the studio.
That's great. We should just end with you saying, I gotta pee.
All right. For anybody that does not know how to find you, where can they find you and see all your good stuff?
Oh, I'm at Pine Zen Pottery on the social medias and pinezenpottery.com.
Pine Zen Pottery.
It's Pine space Zen Pottery. What? Right? Pine.
Not space. It's just all one word. Pine Zen.
Pinezen Pottery.
P-E-N. Wait, P-I-N-E. Yes.
Pinezen.
I gotta pee. I gotta pee.
Okay. We'll see you later.
All right. Thanks, Amy,
guys.
so much.
Bye.
Bye.
That was great.
That was like the best ending to a podcast ever.
I gotta pee.
I gotta pee.
Kind of gotta pee too. I've been drinking this water.
Yeah, I have to go.
Yo, yo, yiggity yo. It's Becca here. Hey, just so you know, thank you for listening. And also, we have. What do we have again? A Patreon. We have a Patreon that you should go, and if you want to donate to, you could donate to it. If you don't, that's cool too. But just Google Wheel Talk Podcast Patreon. Don't do the other one, because there is a Wheel Talk on Patreon, but it's not us. So make sure you get the right one. It's in the show notes. And also, leave us a review because they're fun to read. Okay, bye!